Absolutely.
brick, and they got.
Yeah, I mean, at some point we're going to pop a contact lens in or
That
whatever and be able to see our entire world that way.
Welcome to the Automate and Grow podcast.
All right, so welcome. This is the 8th episode of the Automate and Grow podcast, and I'm here today with DJ Hapa, also known as Brandon Hapa, or is you go by Hapa Brandon Purdue? I always get it mixed up.
Yeah. Hapa first.
Hapa Brandon Purdue, and my experience with Hapa goes back to when I first came to LA, and I probably don't know why I did this, but I came to Scratch DJ Academy, which Brandon's the executive director of, and you're also the national brand director now as well for that.
Yes, and soon to be global.
Soon to be global. And the history of Scratch, just to familiarize people and why it's so exciting to me, is they were one of the pioneering DJ academies founded by Jam Master Jay of Run DMC, rest in peace, and with outlets, I guess, in New York, LA, and Miami, I think, right?
Yeah, and now we have Chicago, Atlanta, and Philly as well.
Oh my goodness, crazy.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have Brandon on today because I've always known him as a very, number one, an innovator in the digital space, and particularly around entertainment and music. And he's also involved in some other exciting ventures. So Brandon, thank you for being on Automate and Grow. And
of course, man.
And should I address you as Hapa? That's probably the best way to go.
Sure. Yeah, that's
fine. All right. So I guess we were talking before we jumped on, and one of the exciting things that you're involved with, and we were chatting a little bit, I'd like to learn more about, is Dash Radio. And maybe you can talk about a little bit about what your involvement with that is and what Dash Radio is and why it's such an interesting platform.
Yeah. So I spent some time in commercial radio, more on the DJ mix show side of things and less as a host. Many years ago, and spent some time in TV as well. And in commercial radio and TV, not to talk bad about any of those industries, but they're highly commercialized, and there is a real finite number of artists that are featured and music that gets discovered through those channels. And I think the day of using radio to discover artists and talent has sort of come and gone in a lot of ways, at least more traditional FM radio. So for me, I was getting ready actually to do I was just getting ready to do like a podcast or like a mix show situation. We were finding, I have a collective called Feel Good Sound, and we were trying to figure out how do we create content on a regular basis outside of our events that then, that people can tune into and be a part of our brand and all of that. So we decided to start a podcast type of show or whatnot that would live. We hadn't even really decided where it would live. I think at the time we were looking at putting it on SoundCloud.
Makes sense.
And I happened to run into a couple of different friends who had mentioned that an old friend of mine, DJ Ski, was starting up Dash Radio. And he used to have something called Ski TV, and that was sort of his show that he pushed, and that he was going to take that same type of formula and open it up and really widen the amount of reach, the genres of music that he was going to cover, and be able to bring in talent for that. So Dash Radio was built as a disruptor in the radio space. We feel like we do radio the way radio should be done, and there's no commercials. There are, it's free for the user, and everything is curated by actual people in the music industry, actual people in music. So
as opposed to lawyers and accountants.
Yes, as opposed to the
or marketing
algorithm.
Directors.
Right. Yeah, right, exactly. Or the sales team.
Team.
So I think it's really awesome what has been built on Dash, and it's the fastest growing radio platform out there. We're now at 9 million users, all built,
wow.
Somewhat organically, and we've got a great amount of talent that has contributed their services to all of the various shows and stations that are on Dash. So the easiest way to think about it is Dash Radio's biggest competitor is Sirius Satellite.
Okay.
And our belief and the sort of strategy here is Dash is going to go into cars, and actually just went into, I think, close to 1 million GM vehicles this past December.
Oh, wow, that's great. That's amazing.
And yeah, and I mean, my car has Wi-Fi in it, and many of the cars over the next couple of years, all of the new cars that will come out from a variety of different car manufacturers will ship with Wi-Fi in the car. So, Dash Radio becomes a much more likely choice, or a much more obvious choice when it's now in the cars. And shout out to everybody at Sirius Satellite Radio, but I mean, I really feel like that's what's sort of holding Sirius together right now, is the fact that it's in your car. I don't know many people who are tuning into Sirius outside of their vehicle.
So to your point, like, Sirius crossed that barrier of entry by getting their application into the Dash, not to,
Yep.
no pun intended, and maybe that actually
No, pun intended.
is that what I was going to
Yep,
say?
no,
Is that
pun
what
intended.
that?
Yep.
Okay, so that's the point of the name Dash, as opposed to being quick. You're saying, so the idea behind Sirius is they've done all those deals, they make it so that the dealer can flip it on and get basically money out of activating it. I believe. I think there's kind of that
Right.
element. And then,
I'm sure there is.
yeah. My experience, but and so the barrier to entry for Dash, you're saying, has always been getting onto a platform. And what's opening it up for Dash? Is it the fact that you're going and doing deals with specific car manufacturers, or I know that there's like a trend in vehicles around getting Android or Apple Connect on to the Dash as well? Is there any benefit to that, or is that part of the strategy? And that's always kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak too intimately about like some of the actual biz dev that's going on that side, because I'm not as involved on that. But I can tell you that the million cars, or the close to 1 million cars that Dash became available over the last month was a deal done between Dash Radio and GM.
Interesting.
So,
wow. Okay.
I mean, that's obviously a big one. That's
Yeah.
not like a small car manufacturer. So, safe to say that I feel like, once you're able to kind of nail down one and sort of prove the model, the others will probably follow.
That's amazing. And then,
Yeah.
and I apologize for not knowing the specifics of this, but the idea behind Dash, is it one station, or is the idea that
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's literally it's very similar to Sirius in the fact that there are genre-specific stations. There's a Dash Talk station as well. There's a Dash Kids station. I myself am on Dash 1. I'm on two different stations. I'm on Dash 1 in the morning, which is kind of like our BBC One, or sort of like our main, sort of like future pop station that is a bit of a catch-all. And then also on our Discover station as well, which is all new emerging artists. So, yeah, it's great. I think, for anybody who's out there that's a music lover and, you want to be exposed to new things, but you want that to be curated, right? Because, I mean, that's the big thing of our world now, is that with distribution being so accessible, it also can make it a bit challenging to kind of sift through the millions of songs or content that's out there. So having a trusted source and having curators help do that for you, can be very successful.
Oh my God, I think that's what's missing, right? Which is
right.
Like, I think terrestrial radio is like really been challenged maybe by XM, but even XM, I think what's happening, to your point, is it's curated, but by the wrong people maybe, or the wrong purpose. And it's highly repetitive, right? There's not this discovery. And then you've got like these streaming music services, which I think have been amazing, like to get, whether it's Apple's or Google Play or Spotify. But it goes back to, you have everything and nothing.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's like,
and the personality's lost, right?
I know. I tell people, it's like, it's like going to you know, the Cheesecake Factory or something like that, where it's like, man, like anything that you can think of, they've got on the menu, you know. And sometimes choice can actually be prohibitive, you know, and can be sort of counterproductive. And so, yeah, I mean, to me, I've gotten some great feedback from listeners around our curation and them being able to discover new music, new talent, and that I think is the crux of being a DJ and the crux of being a you know, a creative and a curator. So to be able to get that type of feedback is awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Doing what I'm doing.
And then so that people know they don't have to have it in their car to get Dash. This is an online platform. It's app based as well.
Yes, yeah. So I mean, the app is actually where most of our traffic comes from. It's from the actual Dash radio app, available on Android and iPhone. You can also call it up on Siri. On Alexa.
Oh, got it. Oh, you got an Amazon or an Alexa skill.
Yes, it is an Alexa skill. So you can say you can enable that.
That's my Alexa thinking
Amazon
I'm talking
app.
to it.
Yeah. So you can say, Alexa, use Dash Radio to play Dash 1.
Okay, let's try it. Hold on.
Playing Dash 1.
Alexa, play Dash 1 radio. I don't know if she understood it, but she's playing something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alexa,
you'll need
stop.
to just enable the. You'll need to enable the skill. And once
that's
you do,
right.
I mean, it's
got it.
fantastic though. You can, you know, you can do that. I have it at the office where, you know, I walk in and, you know, Alexa, use Dash Radio to play Dash 1, and it's playing Dash 1 or any one of our other stations.
Okay, I'm gonna play with it for sure. And I'm actually right now I'm building a skill for this podcast, so I'm really excited about that whole Alexa
awesome.
platform. Like it's kind of interesting where it's like they're putting out these devices, but I think it's another path. You know, like this is what's exciting about it. Hopefully, things like Dash 1 can find a new way into your home, right? Like I don't just have to play my Amazon Music. Like now I can go to this curated source. That's actually pretty exciting to me. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think that's really exciting. And I mean, for, you know, like I mentioned, I mean, I use it at the office, and, you know, a part of the really awesome things about Dash Radio is it's commercial free. So there's no interruption with ads or anything like that, like as you're listening to music. And Dash Radio actually does pay for, you know, pay artists their royalty as well.
That's great.
So it's a part of Sound Exchange, and artists are getting paid for radio that's being, or for their songs being spun on radio, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I think that's the challenge probably with, you know, we go back like, I don't know, has it been 25 years since Napster? It's 28 maybe, right? Is that right? 24, like something like that. It was probably 95 or 94, right? So kind of crazy. But, you know, that I think what's really been interesting to me about music is how it's really been a pioneer as far as going from analog to digital, and it was one of probably the earliest use cases. And you use the word disruption, right? Of how you're trying to disrupt the traditional model using a digital technology. So I think that's one of the most exciting things to me about it. What are you seeing in music, like as far as, is there anything else on the horizon where music or entertainment is leading the way that, you know, people maybe can look for? So I know you're kind of always up on.
Yeah. I think you know, I think the exciting part in music right now is that for the most part, everybody that is out there has access to the same tools for the most part. You know, so, you know, for an artist who is an independent artist, they have access to the same distribution platforms as, you know, a major label artist. The only problem now has become that, and I do think that this is going to continue to be these like swells that happen, but, you know, Spotify has gained so much traction and so much power and so much market share recently that, you know, basically getting your song on New Music Friday is the equivalent of having, you know, a top 10 Billboard hit.
Wow, that's interesting. Huh.
You know, and there's a very small amount of people holding the keys to that kingdom on the Spotify side.
Interesting.
Some of which aren't necessarily even music people.
Really?
Some of which are, tech people, And so it's tricky. It's a tricky thing. But I do think that the growing trend is also for artists to find diversified streams of income. I think that we're going to see more and more of that moving forward. I think one thing that I'm starting to notice a lot more, and it makes me excited to see it, is that there are more brands that are out there that are starting to develop relationships with rising artists as opposed to the Rihannas and Beyoncés of the world and stuff like that, which no knock to any of that, but that I do see, a good amount of, fairly larger brands reaching out and highlighting artists that are on the rise. I think even recently there was an example of what Apple Music, who's somewhat a competitor of Dash, but sure. I think what Apple Music was able to do with Daniel Caesar. And, Daniel Caesar as an R&B artist, it's relatively unknown, and Apple's doing huge billboards of him and whatnot.
Really? That's amazing.
Yeah, which really makes a statement, and, the amount of exposure that, somebody like that would get off of, that kind of love from a brand, that could make or break somebody's career.
So I know there was like this effort, for example, like I think of Tidal as being one of the newer streaming services, and some of these services like that try to pitch premium and sound quality, and I'm not sure if that resonates with everybody. You might see that, but then they also try to do like exclusivities, and I don't know. What's your take on that? Like, what do you think is? I know some of it's a platform play, but then there's also a content piece, right? Like, is that effective for artists? Is that effective for the platform?
Yeah.
And...
I mean, I think it's not a one-size-fits-all for sure. I think that there's been examples in which that's worked really well, and then I think there's probably examples in which that hasn't really worked very well. I think you almost have to segment the artist industry as well, where I think for a high-level artist like a Jay-Z or whatnot to be able to offer something exclusively on Tidal, I think that could probably be more effective than some relatively unknown rapper trying to do something exclusive on Tidal,
Makes
so
sense.
I think it just depends. I think at the end of the day, it's about being able to find unique, creative, ways to market your music,
right.
Ways to be able to get that out there, and if having the exclusivity with a partner is going to help you reach more ears or more eyes simply because they're that much more likely to feature that, I mean, that also is a challenge in our world as well. And that's kind of why that New Music Friday feature is such a coveted thing, because it is so curated. And I mean, and we even get that on the Dash side. And, I think on our side, for me to feature an artist of the day on our daily discovery, that's slowly becoming something that is more and more coveted by artists that are out there. And that's good. I mean, it's a good thing, but I think ultimately, it comes down to, for artists and for people in music, to be able to continue to find ways to push the boundary.
What happened to the music video?
Yeah, I mean,
is that going to come back? Is there going to be like a new MTV? Like, it seems to me insane that there's no connection there. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube obviously is MTV, right? Like, YouTube is the next version of MTV. The challenge that I see actually with YouTube right now, and I feel like this is probably, I'm sure this is in their rollout, is that I think YouTube needs to find more ways to curate content.
I was going to say there's no personality behind it. Like, they're not doing, like, I think the cool thing, that when you grew up when MTV happened, this is before the wacky reality TV show stuff that's going on there now.
Right.
There's no music on MTV.
When it was music television, right?
Right, when it was actually music television. And it's funny because I think in Canada they still have much music, but I think they're getting infiltrated by MTV content, so he's losing a little bit of that. But there's no personality behind it. There's no curation. There's not like, hey, let's watch this show to learn something about music. And then I guess the other, the curious thing is, I don't know, is there interesting stuff happening around video and music? Like it's kind of like a chicken and egg thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some great technology that is out there around video. I mean, even all of the VR stuff and AR stuff.
That's true. I didn't think of that.
Things that can be done now on, using video as a medium. And I do think that we aren't there quite yet. Like it's not fully mainstream and fully integrated into people's lives. I mean, the fact that we still have to put on these giant goggle things in order to,
It's like the old cell phones, though. I think eventually it's going to change, right? Like you used to have a brick, and they got,
Yeah, I mean, at some point we're going to pop a contact lens in or whatever and be able to see our entire world that way. But until we get there, there are still some challenges there. But I do think that there are artists that are really using video as a platform and really do see that as a way of even introducing people to their music. So I think that we're on the cusp of that coming back around. And the fact that also everybody has access to a video capturing device that we all hold in our hands, and those are only getting bigger and are only getting better and clearer and sharper and all that stuff.
Someone's gonna do something there.
Yeah, it's prime for kind of like that next wave, and everything happens in cycles. So
I'm sure there's some licensing barriers to it, but I guess I can't figure out why someone hasn't done this, like a vlog or really a vlog where they're curating music videos.
Right.
Like I keep waiting for some person to decide, wait, this is dumb, this should be happening. And I'm sure there's there's probably some barriers to that, right, around the content itself.
Yeah, there can be, but I do think that like doing it with independent videos and independent artists that can be that can sign off on some of that stuff. I do think that there's a way to actually go about doing it. I mean, maybe this is it. Maybe this is the launch. We're announcing it right now.
There we go. We're gonna do that's interesting. I don't know if I want back into that space, but it's. I think even like I remember one time we were talking about some kind of brainstorming ideas around apps, and I feel like I don't know maybe it's changed, but I feel at the time, for example, even there wasn't a great DJ app necessarily. I know there's been stuff that comes out, but there almost needs to be a video assembly app, right? Where I can I know people can make playlists and stuff, but I feel like that there's got to be some way that someone comes out with an app or a platform that says, okay, I'm able to broadcast and assemble playlists, like video playlists, and not just like a playlist on YouTube. Because I don't know if maybe people follow that. Maybe I'm wrong. I know I think people do that on Spotify, don't they? I'm not a big Spotify user, but
yeah. I mean, the playlisting on Spotify definitely is one of the things that I think has separated it from its competition. Is the fact that you can create, like any user can create playlists and be able to share them, across their own network and publicly. So I do think that has become something. But like anything else, I mean, it's kind of the reason why certain playlists are more popularized than others, and like it's just really interesting. I mean, like even the world that we live in, as much as I would love to think that everybody is an independent free thinker, it's obviously not the case. And,
no.
I mean, there's people tend to. It's funny how the psychology even behind. You have a song that has 100,000 plays, and then you have a song that is equally good, that maybe is even by the same artist that has 10,000 plays, and the 100,000 play song gets 10 times as many clicks a day than the other one. So
it's that kind of magnet social proof thing, right? It's like, well, that's a lot of people are watching. It must be good type of.
Must be good, right?
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting, but yeah, who knows? Maybe it'll be something that pops up in the next few months. Wink, wink.
Here first. So just shifting gears a little bit. For Scratch, I mean, I think one of the pioneering things was you were really early to help DJs learn about technology around like digital DJing.
Yeah.
But you still teach the old school analog ways around using records and turntables and mixers. And what's kind of the state of the nation, and what are you excited about there? Like, what's kind of interesting and exciting about that space right now?
Yeah, I think, I mean, being a DJ is probably one of the more coveted skill sets that's out there that, you know, I think we get this story all the time of somebody who's like, I've always wanted to be a DJ, or I used to DJ when I was in college, or, you know, I mean, it really is everything. To then even like, oh, you know, my kid, I wanted to get my kid into this. And, you know, the idea that you can be the band and that you don't need another musician to be able to play with. You don't need to spend hours of learning how to compose music or, you know, learn Mary Had a Little Lamb over and over and over again. But instead can start with music that, you know, you love and finding a way to put it all together. I think that's interesting. And the DJ is essentially the curator, you know. So for those that have a great ear for music or who are there, the people in their social circles who everybody kind of looks to as like what's new, what's you know, what's out there that's good. You know, we want you to, you know, curate the playlist at the party or whatever. I think like that's who we get to. And it's also this really dynamic space. You know, DJing, the DJ world introduced technology, and we're sort of somewhat tied to the way that people ingest music, in the sense that as the music industry went from vinyl records to CDs, from CDs to MP3s, our world was directly affected. So, and as we move from, you know, MP3s, are being affected. So it'll be really interesting to see. I mean, the state of the union, I think, when it comes to this is that, you know, DJ, as those things, as the medium changes and the skill set changes a little bit, is adjusted a little bit, but education becomes, you know, the cornerstone of all of that, and or continues to be the cornerstone of all of that, right? So no matter what, whether the medium is on vinyl records or is on CDs or MP3s or streaming, or something else, some sort of, you know, I don't know, thing in thin air.
Who knows? Beam to your brain, right?
Yeah. And then, you know, I mean, there still needs to be somebody, like resources to understand how to use those things, how to use those skills, or how to develop those skills, how to use those tools. And so we sort of sit at a really interesting place in that world.
So it's like, I think a couple of things that are super enablers on almost like an example for how digital kind of changed that whole scenario is there's probably like an explosion of the DJs, an explosion of the purchasing of certain types of equipment, because now, to your point, it's like the democratization of creating music and the democratization of being able to curate and perform, really, as opposed to, you know, I don't need permission from a record label. I don't need permission from a radio station. I could, you know, rent out some basement, and then if I can curate my fans that way, you know, build my own following through some of these platforms. So it's kind of interesting how that's like, and that seems to be flourishing. I know that there's probably, you know, streams of downside to that where there's like a, you know, sifting through it, but I think it's an exciting area still. I mean,
I think it's similar to what we were just talking about, even for like artists, that then, you know, the tools are accessible. So now, you know, the average person has access to the same tools, and now it becomes more of a situation of what you do with those tools, how you separate yourself from the pack, what makes you unique and special. And I say this all the time, actually, inside the academy to students, which really is the fact that now more than ever, your brand means something. You know, that DJ, like, that becomes the art, a DJ or an artist for that matter. I mean, it's not what makes you it's not what makes you the same. It makes you, like, what makes you stand out, what makes you unique, why you versus somebody else. I mean, I could hire any one of these DJs. Why would I hire you? You know, and I think for every person that's out there that wants to get into the DJ industry or is already in the DJ industry, that's a real question that you need to ask yourself is, you know, what, and that I ask myself all the time, like, why would somebody hire me versus somebody else? You know, like, what have I done to separate myself from the rest? You know?
So would you say that, like, the young up-and-coming, the kids, right, are a lot more savvy than previous generations about not only technology and using it to build that audience, but also more conscious, it sounds like, of building a brand, building, you know, basically an audience or a list, or is there still a challenge there?
I think there's still a challenge, and I think that, you know, the age gap or the generation or whatnot, in some ways is almost is not as relevant when it comes to that also. And there's plenty of young people that are out there that, you know, are more tech savvy and are more aware of some of these things, but then also, you know, maybe haven't been exposed to having to persevere through something due to the fact that things are so accessible. You know, I mean, like, when you basically have the world at your fingertips at any moment in the day, and you can type anything into a browser, or even be able to call it out on any of these smart enabled devices, to, you know, that then, you know, your resiliency or your ability to, you know, to find a way through that, you know, through that wall that's been put up, maybe you're much more quicker to turn around and go the other way at the first sight of that wall, as opposed to maybe somebody who, you know, has been through more trying times and has learned, you know, how to persevere.
The grizzled veteran can battle through.
So, you know, and it's a combination. And I think ultimately at the end of the day, I mean, you know, one of the things that we're aiming to do here at the Academy, you know, we teach branding 101.
Oh, do you? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's now a class that we have as a required course in terms of, like, being able to go through our program and graduate with a certificate from scratch, DJ Academy. It's our 7th level. It's our 7th of 8 levels at the Academy, and, you know, you create a website. You create a press
okay,
kit.
I didn't even realize that. That's amazing.
Yeah, you learn how to negotiate. You learn how to define, like, who you are as a brand and what makes you different from your competitors or even your classmates, you know. And I think now more than ever, being the guy or the girl that can do everything is actually not necessarily helpful in most people's
you're saying, like, they should have specialization. They should build a team, not just for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you know, I think that what we teach here at the Academy is you know, the fundamentals of being able to, you know, kind of reach this baseline, and what we believe that every, you know, professional DJ should know how to do. But beyond that, there's definitely, you know, you need to have some, like, what does make you special? Like, what, if I'm looking for a female reggae DJ, like, that's, you know, that's a pretty niche thing, but you should own that space. Like, if that's you and that's authentically you, that also doesn't mean that you can't go out and play that open format club, or can't go out and, you know, DJ that wedding that has nothing to do with reggae music. But you know, own something, own some space that you can really, I think, carve out.
Oh, I like that. That makes sense. And I think that's one of the cool things. So for anyone that wants to be a DJ, that's kind of the premise behind Scratch, is that you can learn the skills of, you know, the mechanics, but also I think the interesting thing is the personalities that you attract. Yeah. I think that's, you know, you've probably had some really interesting people come through there, and I think there's probably a DNA from what I saw of people that are doing really interesting things. And it's like 1,000 different things, right? It's not one outcome. It's not like you're making robots. You're you know, you're using what maybe, you got this, everyone's got the tools, but I think that's what I love about Scratch, is that you're like encouraging people to be their authentic self, which seems to resonate with what's going on out there, right? Like I can pay attention to anybody. Like how do I? But I love that you're actually teaching that as well. Like that's.
Yeah, I think it's a combination. I think it's, about figuring out and tapping into who you are authentically and then how you're different. But then in our case too, obviously as an institution, we have to have some sort of, guidelines and standardization as well. So it's really interesting. I mean, for us as a school and, as somebody who is intimately involved in the creation and improvement of our curriculum and development of our curriculum, it's a very interesting sort of push and pull to, really encourage people to be individuals and encourage people to be unique and different, yet at the same time trying to standardize, what the assignments are and how, it's really interesting. And it's something that I think we've been able to do pretty effectively.
Well, and part of that's probably that, like, you got great teachers too. Aside from yourself, like, there's always been really interesting people there that are genuinely interested in helping other people, and they practice, right? Like, they actually go out and they have careers around as artists.
It's a requirement. Right? It's a requirement in order for anybody to teach at the academy that they are active and that they're not only good at what they do, but good at teaching what it is that they do, and that they are here, not for a check, but, more so to, be able to further the art form, further the community, and they want to be a part of it in that way. So, we've got a great group of instructors throughout the country that I really, tip my hat to, because it wouldn't be possible without the, the mindset and the hours that these guys put in. And the effort, there really is a difference. Teachers, they say that teachers are some of the most underappreciated people that are out there.
True.
And, being a DJ teacher is no different, and so, all these folks should definitely be recognized as people who are making an impact in our community.
And I always also, not to belabor it, but I think one of the other cool things that comes out, and you can talk forever about it, is the community part of it, right? It's like you've built a community around this, and so it's not just, it's just not, you come in, you pay, you learn something, and go away. Like there's an ongoing, like, alumni feeling to being a part of Scratch. Yeah. It's kind of cool, right? Now, you I don't want to take too much more of your time, because I know that you're a busy guy. You had mentioned that you were trying to do stuff to extend the next generation of Scratch through other means, and I don't know if you want to talk too much about that, but it sounds like you're trying to do some more pioneering work there as far as bringing, education around this to more people. I can share a little bit about this. None of this has been completely announced yet officially, but happy to share a little bit about where we're going and what the next sort of chapter looks like for DJ education. Obviously, we have our bread and butters are our physical classrooms that we have throughout the country, and there's something really special about spending time inside of any of our institutions and getting a chance to learn from world-class instructors and people, as we were talking about, that really do care about the student and the student being able to reach their goals and whatnot. And so the challenge that we've had, it's really of no secret, the challenge that we've had is that we can only serve people in the communities that we're in the physical locations that we're in. So we've obviously been toying and playing with the idea of expansion into the online space and what that could look like. I've done a handful of online instructional videos or instructional courses even that have lived on partners' websites. And I'm excited because I think that the next chapter of what we're dipping our toes into is going to be able to get us closer to ultimately what my own personal goal and professional goal is to allow for every person to learn how to DJ. Wow. Okay. And 1 billion, or was it 7 billion DJs?
Yeah, I feel like it's something that is something that everybody should experience. at some point in their life of
That's
what it's
interesting.
like to be able to control music, and music is tied to emotion and vibe. You know, this sort of like intangible thing that is out there, and the ability to control that, that one person can control the way that, you know, many people feel or move, I think is a very empowering thing. And so, yeah, I would love for every person that's out there to be able to do that. I also think that music is a passion point for a lot of people that are out there, from all different backgrounds. And, you know, music is also often referred to as a universal language. And the ability to understand that language a little bit better, even without being a classically trained, you know, X, Y, or Z, I think DJing allows for that. So I think it's very powerful for somebody to learn how to DJ, not from the stance of, you know, them going out and now becoming a DJ.
Yeah.
But just from the idea of like maybe even knowing more about what the local DJ in your city is doing when you go out on a Friday night. And yeah, so you know, what we're doing is we're launching a new online platform that I think will really help aid in getting closer to that goal. And we'll have a real community focus as well. So to me, I think one of the things that was always a bit of a puzzle piece in trying to solve was, how do we duplicate the magic that we can have inside the classroom? And how do we make that available, and how do we scale that?
Because I guess it's at risk of losing that. I mean, you've got, when you go into your environment, it is special. Like you feel like you're entering, you know, a Taj Mahal of something, right? Like there's history there, but
yeah,
you know, there's personality, and it's really kind of an empowering thing. So I guess that's interesting that you say that, because it's like, I guess you could lose that authenticity that makes you guys special, right? Through the different medium.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, like, I worry, like, that was always something that I, you know, was concerned about. And then I think, you know, what it comes down to is I don't think that, the message is necessarily in the walls a lot of times. And I do think that the, like, authenticity comes from within. And I think that the message can certainly still resonate, despite the fact that somebody is, you know, hundreds or thousands of miles away. And I think that there's ways to build community online just the same way as we've built community in any of our cities. It's a bit of a different challenge, and the way in which you sort of approach it or would need to go about that is a little bit different. But I think we're getting closer to, you know, at least figuring out what that could be. So I'm excited to say that we will have, you know, the launch of this in this year. It will definitely be in this year, in 2018, that we'll be launching this type of format. But people can be a part of what it is that we're doing, and be a part of this community. And I think that was always the goal when it came to Scratch, was being able to provide education and access. And there's almost this false sense of access now with, like, all these YouTube videos that are out there. No, you have access, but you don't really have access. It actually, to go back to even kind of what we were talking about earlier in the beginning of our conversation, it's like, it's almost this having too many choices and stuff that isn't curated can actually be, you know, prohibitive,
right? And
can be something that is even more discouraging. And we see that often, where students will come in and they've watched too many YouTube videos and kind of ping-ponged around, and then because of that, they have these, like, huge gaping holes in what they've learned, and they haven't really become DJs. It's like this weird thing. It's hard to explain, but basically, like, learning a skill set doesn't make you a DJ.
Makes sense, yeah.
There's
probably, because I think it's like there's an art and a science, right? Like, to your point, it's like, are you good technically? Can you use the tool? And also, do you have the taste? Like, are you able to then connect with people through that taste, right? Like, so there's probably, like...
Yeah, and even things that, like, culturally kind of, like, don't show up in the box score, you know? Like, there's obviously this handful of sort of universal truths or like, you know, universal experiences that DJs have gone through that any DJ, you know, any working DJ from here to Mumbai has experienced, you know, and there's this real, there's these things that are much harder to define, that then make one a DJ. And there's a way to do that without even necessarily becoming a professional DJ. There are ways to like share in those experiences and share in that culture, just even as a fan.
So I could talk to you forever about this stuff, but I know you can't do that. But,
yeah,
I think
we have a part 2 and 3 and 4.
Oh my God, we probably could. We could actually have probably. I know it's probably a little tighter than some of the formats that you're used to. So I feel like I'm almost constraining us talking about stuff. But
it's all good.
I think for me, 2 things that I really like are I really like what the Boiler Room is doing.
Yep.
And
yep.
I really like what Be At TV is doing. Who is out there that I'll ask you 3 things to wrap things up. One is, what's really exciting you as far as a platform out there? 2 is, who's doing really cool stuff that we need to check out in your opinion right now?
And then is there a third?
There will be.
Okay. So platform wise, I'm a big fan of like the 360 stuff, the VR stuff. I think like the idea of that of you being able to bring people into a world that is more than a flat image, I think is really cool. And to me, I shot a whole bunch of stuff in 360 video.
Oh, cool.
And I have slowed down on it, but I've been reminded recently to get back into it because, you know, one of the coolest things I like about that is you put the power in the hands of the viewer. And the viewer can then, it's kind of like choose your own adventure. And the viewer can sort of see whatever angle they want to see. And there's this almost sort of like raw authenticity with that, where it's easy to kind of have, you know, these 3 camera angles that you only want people to see. But it's much different when then it's now like you can see everything.
That makes sense. I don't know why Jamiroquai is coming into my brain.
Right.
Like traveling without moving.
Virtual reality, right.
And virtual insanity, right. That's
virtual
true.
Insanity. And he's back. He's
that album's amazing. Automaton?
Yeah, and he's playing Coachella and everything.
Yeah, he's so good actually. Like I love that whole Automaton.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, so I think it would be that as a platform. To me, I think the VR platform is cool. I think it's just about being able to minimize the amount of equipment that you need in order to experience it. You know, I think to me that's where it's at.
And then who's doing something really cool that we should check out? And I'll ask you one more question, and I'll let you free you back into the universal ether.
The shameless promo and plug for myself, I would say, is I have this group that I created about 2 years ago called Feeling Good, PHILN Good, and I feel like musically we're doing some pretty cool stuff. It is feel good music with the fusion. It's like a DJ-led band. Like the fusion between synthetic instrumentation and electronic dance music with more analog instrumentation of, you know, live horns, live percussion, steel drums, just good vibes. And like that sort of thing, I think we've been able to collaborate with artists from Mexico to the Caribbean.
Oh, cool.
To, you know, even like big heavy hitters here in the States like Kid Ink. So, I'm really excited about some of the stuff that we're doing on that side. And then, I mean, I could rattle off a whole bunch of artists too that I feel like are doing really amazing work. One of which, though, you should definitely check out. One of my favorite people that's out there as an artist, if you're into R&B music and you're into amazing vocalists, my 2 favorite male vocalists right now are, there's a guy named Daly, D-A-L-E-Y.
Okay.
And he is from London, has an amazing project called The Spectrum, which is his third studio album. And then there's another artist by the name of Sam Fisher, who in my opinion, Sam Fisher is, I hate comparing artists to other artists, but Sam Fisher if you like Sam Smith, you'll love Sam Fisher.
Okay, great. All right. I will.
Yeah.
If you want to post up after like a bigger list, I'll put it in the show notes. Playlist like. Again, I could chew on this for a while with you. I don't want to like take too much of your day.
Yeah, I'll give you my Spotify playlist. I update my Spotify playlist weekly, and
great. Okay.
I'm always featuring new rising talent and different talent that's out there. So it's called Feel Good Favorites. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, and the final question that it's more I'm going to ask you to do something, so I'm going to put you on the spot, which is we've been really fortunate to get referrals to other people that should be on the show that are innovators. Yep. And I want you to nominate someone now that you think that you can introduce us to and that should appear on a future episode. Can be business, technology, if you want music. Yeah. Like, who should we talk to and who should be on Automate and Grow? I know this is a bit of a departure from my normal Automate and Grow stuff, but I think that's how we learn and how we grow and meet some new people too. So.
Absolutely. So I have a friend who is a big tech and music geek, and so I nominate Arabian Prince from NWA to be somebody that you feature on your show, because I think he'd be fantastic for you to talk to. And he's a guy who has sort of always been on the cusp of new things, new sounds, new technology. Currently, he's working on a handful of awesome tech projects, and not many people know of his involvement with some of the things going on in Silicon Valley and Silicon Beach. Yeah, and is just a very interesting guy. I don't know.
Are we talking the NWA? Am I missing something?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So Arabian is one of the original producers of NWA.
That's what I thought. Okay.
And yeah, he'll be able to probably share with you some of the stories around, even that stuff as well. But he's an amazing innovator. A guy that's big on technology and automation and growth and whatnot. So I think he'd be great for automating.
Amazing. I will take that. Yeah. And is he in LA or?
Yeah, he's in LA.
Oh, well, maybe we do it together. So we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Hapa, thank you so much. I really enjoy whenever we get a chance. I know we spend too much time apart, but
right.
I really appreciate you showing. I'm back. Right, I'm back in LA. So I really appreciate everything you give into the not only the music world but the world in general. You always have really positive vibes, and I love that you're a creator, and I really appreciate the time that you spend with me. So thank you so much. Man.
Thanks for having me.
Connect, and I appreciate that. That's a great connection, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yep, no worries, man.
Thank you very much. This has been episode 8 of Automate and Grow. A little bit of a departure, but hopefully an interesting one. And we will look forward to seeing everyone on episode 9.
Yes. All right. Goodbye.
This has been an episode of the Automate and Grow podcast. Check out other episodes for interesting topics on how to grow, innovate, and automate your business. Subscribe or like us on iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, or on our website at www.automategrow.biz and get your copy of the book Automate and Grow at Amazon today.